Why you do this? Understand yourself. There is a strange moment when clarity almost arrives. When something inside you leans forward, alert, curious, ready to finally understand. And then suddenly, everything dims. Not panic, not chaos, just a quiet internal shutdown, like the lights cutting out right before something important is revealed. And the timing of it is never accidental. It feels unfinished, suspended in mid-air. You sense that something real was about to land, something personal and exposing. Instead of insight, you're left with distance, fog, or silence, and a tension that stays in the body long after the moment passes. That tension is the first clue. This shutdown doesn't announce itself. It happens mid-thought, mid-sentence, mid-realization. One moment you're present and engaged. The next you feel heavy, far away, or oddly blank, as if someone quietly pulled you out of the room. It always happens faster than thought. You might tell yourself you lost focus, or that you stopped caring. But that explanation never fully fits. There's often a quiet inner knowing that says something else just happened here, something deeper than distraction. And that something follows a pattern. What looks like avoidance is actually interruption. When truth moves too close to a sensitive core, the nervous system doesn't analyze or negotiate, it intervenes. Awareness is reduced before intensity can fully register in the body. This happens without conscious permission. This isn't resistance, it's a reflex, a fast internal response designed to keep your system from taking on more emotional weight than it can safely carry in that exact moment. The mind goes offline so the system stays intact. But the question is why? The trigger is rarely obvious. It's not the words being said, or the situation itself, it's what those words point toward underneath. The implication your system recognizes instantly, without language. Meaning lands before logic does. When truth threatens to expose something vulnerable, an old belief, a painful memory, a fragile self-image, the body reacts first. By the time the mind tries to understand, the shutdown has already started. And it always starts in the body. Shutdown is subtle but precise. Energy drops, muscles soften, thoughts slow, emotional volume lowers, awareness narrows just enough to function, but not enough to feel overwhelmed or destabilized. It's a conservation response. From the outside, it can look like disengagement or indifference. From the inside, it feels like the system quietly choosing survival over exposure, without drama or explanation. That choice has history behind it. Your nervous system doesn't evaluate truth based on accuracy. It evaluates based on impact. It asks one silent question: can this be integrated without threatening stability? That question decides everything. If the answer is no, the system delays processing. Not because you're incapable, but because receiving it all at once would cost too much safety, coherence, or emotional energy. So the system buys time. Most shutdown patterns were learned in moments when awareness wasn't safe. When knowing more meant feeling too much, or being left alone with what surfaced. Clarity once came with consequences. Your system learned that insight could hurt. So now, when truth approaches that same depth, protection activates automatically, before pain has a chance to repeat itself. This is memory, not weakness. Over time, this pattern blends into identity. You may start believing you're disconnected, avoidant, or incapable of deep self-insight. Shutdown begins to feel like who you are, but identity formed under pressure distorts truth. This isn't your nature, it's who you became when shutting down was the only way to stay intact. The strategy stayed, even when the danger passed, and that matters more than you think. Patterns don't dissolve under pressure. They soften under understanding. The moment you stop judging shutdown as failure, the system feels less threatened by awareness itself. Threat reduction changes everything. And that's when something unexpected happens. Awareness starts staying just a little longer, without force or effort. Presence increases because safety does. This is how patterns loosen. Shutdown is not your system rejecting truth. It's your system asking for pacing. For space, for regulation while something meaningful is processed slowly. That request is intelligent. When insight is approached gently, the lights don't slam off anymore. They dim, allowing adjustment instead of disappearance. This is where change actually begins. Real transformation doesn't come from pushing through shutdown. It comes from staying present at the edge, where curiosity exists without collapse. That edge is delicate but powerful. Each time you respond with compassion instead of pressure, the nervous system rewrites its expectations about what truth costs. Integration replaces defense, and the system remembers that. Relief comes when you stop fighting your own timing, when you trust that understanding doesn't need to arrive all at once to be real. Nothing important is being missed. The system relaxes when it knows you won't force insight at the expense of safety. That relaxation creates room for clarity, and clarity returns on its own. Integration is quiet, almost unremarkable. It doesn't feel like a breakthrough, it feels like stability slowly returning. That's why people overlook it. This is where insight becomes usable, because it arrived without overwhelming the system that had to receive it. Stability is the signal of success. Empowerment comes from listening instead of overriding, from treating shutdown as communication rather than weakness or failure. Listening restores agency. When you honor those signals, you regain choice instead of fighting yourself. You can lean in or pause without losing progress. That balance is real power. At deeper levels, relief feels like trust. Trust in your pace, trust in your capacity, trust in your system. Trust changes how truth lands. Awareness delayed is not awareness denied. It's waiting for the moment it can land safely. That moment is closer than you think. You don't shut down because you can't handle the truth. You shut down because at one point, you had to. And your nervous system remembers that lesson perfectly. But memory can be updated. Now you get to teach it something new. That understanding can arrive without danger, without collapse, and without losing yourself. That learning rewires everything. You're not broken. Did that feel familiar? And have you thought about this?